Hi children, welcome to ABeta. Please like, subscribe and share the channel. Now children, today I am here with a very small video, very small session to summarize one very important chapter for you. And that chapter is the very first chapter of your political science textbook of class 10th, that is power sharing. So in this session, in this small video, I am going to summarize your chapter power sharing. So when you're revising, your text is completed, you've thoroughly done that, you can just have a look at my video and your summary would be done. Important points done in just a few minutes. Summary of power sharing. So power sharing is very important for the proper functioning of democracy. And this we have seen because we have read about two important case studies or two important examples that were presented in this chapter. One was of Belgium and the other was of Sri Lanka. So talking about the fact that yes, power sharing is very important for the smooth and proper functioning of democracy, let us address to these two examples that are given in your story to understand the similarity or the difference. So first we are going to talk about the case of Sri Lanka. So in Sri Lanka, children, there are two communities. One is the Sinhala speaking community and the other community is the Tamil speaking community. Now the Sri Lankan community is in majority, which is 74% of the population, and the Tamil speaking community there is a minority with 18%. Now both these communities were there in Sri Lanka. However, there was a conflict. Why? Because the Sri Lankan Sinhala speaking community, they adopted a majoritarian policy. What is a majoritarian policy? They decided that they are going to rule over the entire country. They made their own language as the official language, and as a result, the Sri Lankan Tamil speaking community felt alienated. They felt that their community's identity, culture, everything was not given due importance and space. And this feeling of alienation that emerged within the Sri Lankan Tamils resulted into conflict. These Sri Lankan Tamils started forming different political groups and organizations, and eventually the conflict and fight between the Sinhala speaking community and the Tamil speaking community started, where the Tamil speaking community demanded for a separate country for themselves, a separate state for themselves. And this resulted into a civil war. So this was the result when we see one community took over, started dominating over the other community, and the result was a civil war. Now this was the case of Sri Lanka. The next case is that of Belgium. Now in Belgium, there were two communities, the Dutch speaking community and the French speaking community. So here we have the French speaking community, and here we have the Dutch speaking community. Now this French speaking community were just 44% and the Dutch speaking community were 59%. So ideally, if we talk about the numbers, the Dutch speaking community were in majority and this French speaking community was in minority. However, the situation was the French speaking community, which was a minority in Belgium, was rich and in better terms. And these Dutch speaking community got a chance for development and education much later. So got a chance of development and education much later. And how did this community, which was a majority but was having problems, were not getting developed, they got a chance for education and development much later? Because here the government of Belgium, they decided to share the power. There was power sharing. And as a result, apart from the powers which was there at the central and state government, they amended their constitution and a new form of power sharing was developed, that is community power sharing, that is community government. So, government shared power, community government was formed. And what was community government? That is, apart from power being shared at the central and state levels, the power was also shared among different social groups such as the linguistic groups, religious groups, etc. So, in these two examples, that is of Sri Lanka and Belgium, we have seen that how in one country, when one community was dominating over the other community, there was a civil war, as in the case of Sri Lanka. However, when there was a similar situation in a country like Belgium, there the government decided to share its power. As a result, the situation was much better. There was accommodation, there was a positive result, and therefore we can say that power sharing is very important for the smooth functioning of democracy. Apart from that, this chapter also talks about why power sharing is considered to be desirable. There are two reasons why we say power sharing is desirable. One is the prudential reason and the other is the moral reason. Prudential reason says that power sharing reduces the possibility of conflict among different social groups. Why? Because power is shared, so conflict within different social groups automatically reduces and the chances of stability increases. This is the prudential reason of why power sharing is desirable. The second reason for power sharing to be desirable is the moral reason, which states that power sharing is the essence or spirit of democracy, because in a democracy, people have the right to say, or they have a right to decide how they should be governed. The prudential reason states it ensures stability as the possibility of conflicts amongst different social groups reduces. Therefore, stability is there. This is the prudential reason of why power sharing is desirable. The moral reason of why power sharing is desirable is power sharing is the essence of democracy. Right? It is the essence of democracy, as people have the right to decide how should they be governed. So these are the two important reasons, the prudential reason and the moral reason, as to why power sharing is desirable. The next and the final part of your chapter talks about the different forms of power sharing in modern democracy. So we know that in modern democracy, power is shared between the government at different levels, or between the different organs of the government at same level, between different political parties, pressure groups and different social groups. So, in a modern democracy, power is shared in various forms. And what are these forms? First, between the different organs of government at the same level, that is the legislature, executive and the judiciary. Then power is shared amongst the government at different levels, that is central, then you have state, local and so on. So this is also called the vertical division of power or the federal power division. And this one is the horizontal division of power, this one is the federal division of power or the vertical division of power. And third is power is shared amongst different political parties, social groups and pressure groups. So here we have summarized the entire topic. First, why power sharing is desirable, where we talked about two important examples of Belgium and Sri Lanka. Then, why power sharing is desirable? There are two reasons, prudential and moral reason. And finally, the different forms of power sharing in modern democracy that has been done. So, in this way, we have summarized the entire chapter of power sharing, that is the first chapter of political science class 10th, in just a few minutes. So, students, please like, subscribe and share my channel, and you will be assured to get many more videos like this very soon. Thank you and all the very best.